You have no right to dismiss that, you man.
Do you know whom you're speaking to?
Out of my courthouse, now. I don't care who you are. I will make sure you're arrested.
November 14th, 2023, 2:47 p.m. Cuyahoga County Courthouse, Cleveland, Ohio. What you're about to see was captured entirely on Bodycam footage, worn by the officer himself. He had no idea he was documenting the end of his own career. Before we begin, if you're new here, hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on cases like this one. And comment below to let us know where in the world you're watching from. Now, let's get into it. The Honorable Marcus Webb, 58 years old, sits at the bench reviewing case files. He's presided over this courtroom for 14 years, known for his measured temperament, respected across the bar. A man who doesn't need to raise his voice to command a room. In the American legal system, a judge's authority within their courtroom is absolute. It's not ceremonial, it's constitutional. Judges have the power to maintain order, enforce rules of procedure, and hold individuals in contempt when that order is disrupted. This authority exists to protect the integrity of judicial proceedings and ensure that justice can be administered without intimidation, interference, or chaos. Two officers enter through the rear gallery doors. Officer Derek Holleran, white, 17 years on the force. His partner, Officer James Mitchell, black, 9 years in uniform. Mitchell follows 2 steps behind, scanning the room with the habitual awareness of someone who knows trouble when he sees it. Judge Webb speaks without looking up. Gentlemen, if you're here to provide testimony, please check in with the clerk. We're mid-proceeding. Holleran responds, "Yeah, we're not here for that. We're here to escort someone out." The gallery goes quiet. Attorneys at the prosecution table exchange glances. Judge Webb looks up now. "Excuse me, officer. This is an active court session. If you have business here, you'll wait until we recess or address the court properly." Holleran continues, "We got a call about a disturbance. Someone in here needs to come with us." Judge Webb replies, "There is no disturbance in my courtroom, officer, and you'll address this bench with respect or you'll leave. Now." The body cam captures Holleran's partner shifting his weight, eyes down. The silence stretches. You can hear it on the recording. The kind of silence that precedes something irreversible. It's worth noting here that law enforcement officers are not exempt from courtroom protocol. In fact, they're held to a higher standard. When an officer enters a courtroom, they are subject to the same rules as any member of the public. They must respect the authority of the bench. They must follow procedure. And if they disrupt proceedings, they can be removed, cited for contempt, or even arrested. Before we continue, comment below. Was what happens next a pattern of disrespect or deliberate racial intimidation? Watch until the end, then tell us what you think.
Halloran steps forward. "With all due respect, Your Honor, we're not here to ask permission. We're doing our job." Judge Webb responds, "Your job does not supersede the authority of this court. I'm going to ask you one more time. State your business properly or leave." Halloran half laughs. "You know what? We got a call that someone here was causing problems. Maybe we got the wrong person." He looks directly at the judge. "Or maybe we didn't." That pause, that look, every person in that courtroom felt it. The court reporter's hands froze over her keys. The defense attorney half stood from his chair. Officer Mitchell, Halloran's partner, finally speaks. "Derek, come on, man. Let's just—" Halloran cuts him off. "I got this, James." He turns back to the judge. "Look, we can do this easy, or we can do it another way. There's a woman in here, 3rd row. She's supposed to come with us. We're taking her in for questioning." Judge Webb responds, "That woman is a scheduled visitor for a defendant in custody. She has every right to be here. You have no authority to remove her without a warrant or probable cause, and you certainly don't have authority to interrupt my courtroom. Under the Fourth Amendment, law enforcement cannot detain or arrest someone without probable cause or a warrant. In a courthouse, during active proceedings, this standard is even strictly enforced. Officers cannot simply enter a courtroom and remove individuals at will. They must have legal justification, and they must defer to the judge presiding over that space. Halloran steps closer to the bench. "Do you know who I am?" There it is. The body cam footage captures it in perfect clarity. The moment ego eclipses reason. Judge Webb replies, "I don't care who you are, officer. You're in contempt. You'll leave now or you'll be removed." Contempt of court is not a technicality. It's a legal mechanism designed to protect the judicial process. There are two types: civil contempt, used to compel compliance with a court order, and criminal contempt, used to punish behavior that disrespects or obstructs the court. What Judge Webb just invoked was criminal contempt. It can result in fines, jail time, or both, and it applies to anyone, including law enforcement. Halloran laughs and shakes his head. "Contempt? You think you can hold a cop in contempt? You know what I could do right now? I could have you arrested." The courtroom erupts. Two bailiffs move toward Halloran. His partner, Mitchell, grabs his arm. Mitchell says to him, "Derek, stop. Right now. Stop talking." But Halloran doesn't stop. No, I want everyone to hear this. I've been doing this job for 17 years. I don't take orders from... He catches himself, barely, but everyone in that room knows what he was about to say. Judge Webb speaks. "Finish that sentence, officer. Please, finish it." The silence stretches. Halloran continues, "I don't take orders from someone who doesn't understand how law enforcement works." Judge Webb responds, "Bailiff, remove this officer from my courtroom, immediately." Halloran protests, "You can't." Judge Webb cuts him off. "I just did. You are in contempt of court. You will leave, or you will be escorted out in handcuffs. Your body cam footage will be preserved as evidence. Your supervisor will be notified within the hour. Move." Halloran is physically turned toward the door by Mitchell and two bailiffs. He shouts as he's let out, "This is bullshit. You think you're untouchable? You have no idea." The door closes. The courtroom remains frozen. Judge Webb speaks to the clerk. Note for the record. Officers Halloran and Mitchell, badge numbers to be confirmed, entered this courtroom at 2:47 p.m. and disrupted proceedings. Officer Halloran was removed for contempt at 2:52 p.m. We'll recess for 10 minutes. That should have been the end of it. A hot-headed cop, a disrespected judge, an embarrassing incident. But it wasn't. Because 20 minutes later, as Judge Webb returned to his chambers, Officer Halloran was in the courthouse lobby. Body cam still recording, telling other officers what had just happened, in his version. Halloran speaks on body cam audio. "That judge up there? Total power trip. Thinks he can talk to cops like we're nothing. I'm filing a complaint. Guy doesn't know who he's messing with." Mitchell responds, "Derek, drop it. You crossed the line." Halloran replies, "A line. I was doing my job." Mitchell answers, "No, you weren't, and you know it." Mitchell walked away. Within 2 hours, he filed his own report. It was 8 pages long. In it, he described a pattern. Comments Halloran had made over the past year. Jokes about judges, about defense attorneys, about defendants, about anyone, Mitchell wrote, who looked like me and held authority over him. He described the courthouse incident as the culmination of months of racial resentment I chose to ignore. That report, combined with the body cam footage, triggered an immediate internal affairs investigation. Internal affairs divisions exist within police departments to investigate allegations of misconduct. They operate independently from regular chain of command to ensure impartiality. When an officer is accused of violating department policy, state law, or constitutional rights, internal affairs opens a case. They review evidence, interview witnesses, examine body cam footage, and they make recommendations to disciplinary boards. In cases involving potential bias, discrimination, or abuse of authority, these investigations are treated with heightened scrutiny, especially when the complaint comes from another officer. The Cleveland Police Department's Office of Professional Standards received the body cam footage on November 15th.
By November 16th, it had been reviewed by 3 separate investigators. By November 18th, Officer Derek Halloran was placed on administrative leave. Administrative leave is standard procedure during internal affairs investigations. It's not a punishment, it's a precautionary measure. The officer is removed from active duty, usually with pay, while the investigation proceeds. This protects both the integrity of the investigation and the department's public image. If the officer is cleared, they return to duty. If they're not, the leave becomes the first step toward termination. On November 21st, the footage leaked. Not officially. Someone in the department sent it to a local reporter. By that evening, it was national news.
The clip went viral. Within 72 hours, it had been viewed 43 million times. The footage was reviewed in full and remains unaltered. Civil rights organizations issued statements. Legal scholars appeared on cable news. The Cleveland NAACP called for Halloran's termination. Public pressure can complicate internal affairs investigations. Departments must balance the demand for transparency with the need to conduct thorough, legally defensible reviews. Premature terminations can be overturned by police unions or arbitration boards. Evidence must be documented, procedures must be followed, and any disciplinary action must be supported by policy violations that are clearly substantiated. But it was Officer James Mitchell's testimony that sealed it. On December 3rd, Mitchell sat before the Internal Affairs Board. For 2 hours, he described what he'd witnessed, not just that day, but over years of partnership. He described Halloran questioning black supervisors' decisions, referring to black defendants with coded language, making comments about quotas and diversity hires whenever a black officer was promoted. He described the courthouse incident not as a one-time outburst, but as the inevitable result of unchecked bias. Pattern evidence is critical in disciplinary cases. A single incident, even if egregious, can sometimes be dismissed as an anomaly. But when an officer's partner testifies to a pattern of behavior, when that behavior is documented over time, and when it aligns with conduct captured on Bodycam, the case becomes nearly impossible to defend. At one point during his testimony, Mitchell was asked why he hadn't reported these incidents earlier. He paused, then said, "Because I convinced myself it wasn't that bad. Because I wanted to believe my partner was just old school, not racist. Because I was afraid of being labeled a snitch." He paused again, then added, "I was wrong, and I'm not protecting him anymore." This is the reality many officers face. The thin blue line, the unwritten code of loyalty, often discourages reporting misconduct. Officers who break that code risk ostracism, retaliation, or career damage. But when that silence enables harm, when it allows bias to fester, the cost becomes too high. December 10, 2023, the Cleveland Police Department's Disciplinary Board concluded its investigation. Officer Derek Halloran was terminated, effective immediately. 17 years of service, pension benefits reduced, no possibility of reinstatement.
Police terminations follow a specific legal process. The officer is entitled to due process, which includes notice of the charges, access to evidence, and the opportunity to respond. Disciplinary boards, often composed of senior officers and department officials, review the case and make a determination. If termination is recommended, the officer can appeal through their union or civil service commission. But appeals are rarely successful when the evidence is this clear. The official statement read in part, "Officer Halloran's conduct in the courtroom on November 14th, combined with documented patterns of behavior described by his partner and corroborated by multiple witnesses, represents a fundamental failure to uphold the standards of this department and the oath he swore to serve all citizens with dignity and respect." The statement continued, "His actions were not merely insubordinate. They were an affront to the rule of law, to the authority of the judiciary, and to the community we serve. Halloran's attorney issued a brief statement claiming the termination was politically motivated. He filed no appeal. The absence of an appeal is telling. It suggests that even Halloran's legal representation recognized the case was indefensible. Bodycam footage, witness testimony from his own partner, a public confrontation with a sitting judge, there was no legal strategy that could overcome that evidence. January 8, 2024, Judge Marcus Webb returned to the bench after the holidays. He made no public statement about the incident, declined all interview requests. When asked by a reporter outside the courthouse if he felt vindicated, he said only, "I was doing my job, that's all." But those who were in the courtroom that day, the attorneys, the clerks, the members of the public gallery, they remember something else. They remember the moment after Halloran was removed. Judge Webb didn't speak right away. He sat at the bench, hands folded, looking at nothing in particular. Then he lifted his gavel and continued. Judges are trained to maintain composure under pressure. Their authority depends on it. But composure doesn't mean indifference. It means control. Judge Webb could have escalated. He could have raised his voice, made threats, or let emotion dictate his response. Instead, he did exactly what the law required. He enforced the rules, he preserved the record, and he moved forward. This case asks uncomfortable questions. How many times has authority been challenged, not because it was abused, but because of who held it? How often does power refuse accountability because it believes it should never have been questioned in the first place? And how many officers like James Mitchell have stayed silent until they couldn't anymore? The body cam captured everything. The disrespect, the escalation, the resentment. It was all there, undeniable, unedited. Officer Derek Halloran walked into that courtroom believing his badge made him untouchable. He left knowing it didn't. Judge Marcus Webb never raised his voice, never lost his composure, never gave Halloran the reaction he wanted. He simply did what judges do. He upheld the law. Comment below. Was this justice, or should more have been done? And if you witnessed something like this, would you speak up or stay silent? If this story made you think, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss cases like this. Hit that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.